Thank you for staying with us. The Eastern Cape branch of the ANC has welcomed the dialogue between AbaThembu King, Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo, as well as the Premier Oscar Mabuyane, marking a pivotal step in addressing the recent extortion allegations. The meeting took place at the King's private residence in Umtata on Wednesday. For more insights, we're now joined by Ngqondi, who's the ANC Eastern Cape Provincial Communications Head. Mr. Ngqondi, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Can you firstly summarize the significance of the recent peace talks between the Premier and King Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo? What prompted these discussions?
Look, you will recall some few weeks back, there were claims made by the King of AbaThembu against the provincial chairperson of the ANC, who was also the Premier of the province. And then after that, the Premier, because he wanted to clear his name, he said he will join the case because he feels that his integrity is at stake if he cannot respond to the claims that have been made by the King. But after some intense discussion within the ANC, we felt that it would be good for the Premier and the chairperson of the ANC to go and have an engagement with the King. You will recall that the King and the Premier are belonging to the same AbaThembu clan. So these are just the siblings of the Ntleko clan, because Amandungwane clan belongs to AbaThembu. You've got many houses in AbaThembu. You've got the Mtara house, you've got the Sangwane house, you've got your Dalindyebo house, you've got the Matanzima house, including the Ndungwane one. So we felt that it would be good that the Premier engaged the King. So the Premier went to that engagement on Wednesday. And it was a very cordial meeting, very close meeting between the two of them. And they discussed many issues affecting the province, affecting rural development, affecting economic development, including the issue of crime, which has been prevalent in the area of KSD, but also in Gqeberha. So in the meeting, they had an engagement saying, look, we are going to join hands between the two of us to assist the law enforcement agencies to arrest all those who are involved in extortion. We are going to have engagement to ensure that we make a strong call to the police to have a strong effort in getting down criminal activities surrounding the KSD area, including AbaThembu. In particular, even issues of stock theft, because it's also one of the issues that I think is part of the discussion, because in areas like Yotsolo, Yokumbu, there's been stock theft, and in those stock theft, people who have been migrating in those households holding R4 rifles, terrorizing people who are keeping their sheep and cattle. Some of those stock have been stolen. So that engagement felt that law enforcement agencies must be roped in so that we don't only focus on extortion, but also focusing on fighting the stock theft. So in a nutshell, that meeting was very cordial and also very fruitful. And I think it's a first time of an engagement that we're going to continue. Also, we feel that as the ANC, we must also have this engagement with traditional leaders, because they are also one of the key stakeholders in our province in ensuring that the social cohesion in society, but also they assist in assisting communities when it comes to development.
So you describe these discussions as cordial and fruitful, but let's go back a bit. How have the tensions between the King and the Premier evolved leading up to this meeting? What are the main points of contention during these discussions?
Look, we were not part of the discussion, by the way, because the meeting was between the Premier and the King, so it was only the two of them. But what we know is that the Premier wanted to get a clarification on the allegations that were made in public against him. And by the way, we didn't ask what was the response of the King. But what we are happy with is the ANC is that this meeting finally took place, and that engagement were very robust, but also cordial. And that's how we can describe it, and that's how we are happy that finally that meeting took place. We know for a fact that there will be continuous engagement between the Premier and the King. Actually, it's not the first time that they meet, because I've indicated earlier that this is part of the family, because these are the siblings of the Ntleko clan. Those engagements will continue, but more importantly, their collaboration will focus mainly on fighting crime, fighting extortion, on fighting gender-based violence and femicide, but also on assisting communities when it comes to rural development in the province.
Let's expand on that. How do you believe this meeting will impact governance and community relations, especially in the Eastern Cape, in addressing issues like crime that you mentioned and extortion that has also come to light recently?
Look, one thing that has been missing in the public discourse is that the Premier has been one who has been indicating that the president must bring the South African National Defence Force in the province, because there were issues of construction mafia, if you recall. There were two particular projects that were being disturbed, Yomthembu Bridge and also Yomsikaba Bridge. And Premier said, look, because of these Catholic projects in the province, they cannot be delayed by people who want to extort. They cannot be delayed by people who demand money. Then he approached the president to say, look, we are appealing to you, President, so that you can bring the South African National Defence Force to augment the work that is being done by the South African Police Services in fighting these extortion that are happening in these two Catholic projects. Unfortunately, you will know for a fact that when you make that kinds of requests when it comes to deployment of soldiers, it's a long process. It's a long process. So the Premier also said we are appealing to the Minister of Police for intensification of the police work in the province, but also for beefing up of the crime intelligence. And these have already bear fruit, because we have seen the Minister of Police, including the Commission of Police, they have deployed the National Intervention Unit in the areas of Gqeberha and Tata. They've also deployed more detectives to fight this issue of extortion. But they've also deployed the task force to also augment the work of the police. So that collaboration emanates from all those calls that have been made by the Premier. So the meeting that the King had with the Premier also cemented that. I mean, we have seen that we have been calling for the police are here, and some of the criminals are being arrested. And now there's a little bit of normality now in the areas of Gqeberha and also KSD, which is Batula Mthatha.
But speaking more broadly, Mr. Ngqondi, what role do you see traditional leaders like King Dalindyebo playing in the broader socio-political landscape in that province? And how can they collaborate with government officials?
Look, you would recall that King Buyelekhaya is not the only king in the province. You've got the king of Amaxhosa, Asenqadu. You've got king of Amampondo. You've got king of AbaThembu, West. So all these traditional leaders, we work hand in glove with them, both in government and also as the ANC. And in all our forums that we have, traditional leaders get involved because we want to hear their views on issues of development, and they've been participating in issues of development. And hence today you have a house of traditional leaders in the province, in the provincial legislature, because that house of traditional leaders also look at the role that must be played by traditional leaders in the province working in government. And that collaboration does not only end there with the House of Traditional Leaders, it's extended to the ANC. In due course, we are going to have a summit of traditional leaders as the ANC in the province, so that traditional leaders can also explain or detail some of the inputs that they want to make in order for us as government or as the ANC, how to improve the image of the province, how to bring economic development in the province, how they can assist in the issue of crime, how they can assist in the issue of addressing social cohesion in the province.
But in what ways does the ANC plan to work, especially with traditional leadership, to indeed address these socio-economic challenges, especially in rural areas, as mentioned in your statement? Look,
I'll be repeating myself that we have a collaboration already. I mean, it's a long relationship that the ANC has with traditional leaders. Even in our own deployments as the ANC, when we look for deployment, we look for deployment broadly. And part of our deployment into strategic positions, whether it's for provincial legislature, whether it's for national parliament, we'll also identify traditional leaders. And by the way, one of the traditional leaders, who was a former leader of Contralesa, today is a member of the NCOP representing the Eastern Cape in the national parliament. You've got Prince Ngqondi Ngqamashe Zolile Benz Ngqamashe is one of the traditional leaders. He's coming from the ANC, has got real long relations with the ANC. He's the Deputy Minister of Kokta, responsible also for traditional leader. So that relationship has been long cemented in the ANC. Hence, from time to time, we will have those engagements, and they will also be given platform to play a role, also to contribute in the development of the province.
Right. But how do you anticipate that the public will respond to this, call it a newfound commitment between the King and the Premier? And what message do you hope it sends to the community as well?
Look, I can tell you that judging from the response of the public, whether you look on social media platforms, people were so elated. They showed a lot of enthusiasm when they heard that the Premier has met the King, because they felt that these are part of the family, and we must also avoid issues of animosity. And I can tell you, the response that we have received from the public, just general public, not only from the ANC circles, but from the general public, that they appreciate that the Premier has met with the King, and they felt that that relationship must continue, that collaboration must continue, must be cemented, but they must also speak in public to tell what is their plans in ensuring that there's a progress when it comes to development in the province.
And speaking about plans to come, what specific initiatives or follow-up actions, if you will, are planned as a result of this meeting? And how will the progress be communicated to the general public as well?
Look, one of the things that we are being preoccupied with as a province is the issues of rural development. You recall that the damage that has been done by the balkanization of our province, the damage that has been done by underdevelopment of our province. Well, you recall our province was a former Pandostan. You had two Pandostan. You had the former Transkei and the former Ciskei. Deliberately, these were the two areas that were balkanized, two areas that were deliberately ignored by the previous government of Party with no development at all. Hence today, when you come into the province, you see and witness a construction site. Wherever you go, there's a road construction. When you drive out of Kongo to Pedi, there's a road construction. When you drive out of Kongo to Bisho, there's a road. To Kumpa, there's a road construction. When you drive out of Kongo to Islanda, there's a road construction. Hence, there's a 6 billion project in Sikaba connecting KZN to the Eastern Cape via Lusig and Flagstaff. Hence, there are many projects, including projects that are bringing investors into the province. Just 3 months ago, Stellantis has invested to plus minus 3 billion into the province. They are going to operate a plant in. All these developments have made it a point that we are viewed as one of the provinces that has been forward in terms of issues that there's development in the province, but also issues of rural development because of balkanization. Many projects are going to the former Transkei. You have got a project now called the Newzroom Dam. That dam is going to connect our Tambo region and Alfred's origin, giving or providing water to those two different districts. And also in that collaboration, so traditionally they have been informed, they've been involved, and are participating in all the activities in ensuring that that particular project of Newzroom is a success.
I want to return to a prevalent issue that we touched on as well a bit earlier on in our conversation, and that's the rising issue of crime and extortion in the Eastern Cape. What concrete steps do you believe will be taken to combat these problems? And also, how can traditional leaders aid in this effort?
Look. One of the things that we have advised, in the issue of fighting extortion, we said, if you recall, during the 2010 World Cup, there were special courts that were opened for people who are found against the law. And we're saying even now that there must be special courts and there must be special judges designated to deal with those specific cases of people who are involved in extortion. That's why. And this view has been shared by traditional leaders too. We are saying there must be a campaign of educating our people about extortion, first and foremost. And we're glad that the Department of Safety in the province, of Community Safety in the province, working with the Minister of Police, they've also said that they will also launch this particular campaign on extortion so that we educate our communities about extortion. But also we're happy that the Commissioner of the Police in the province has issued a line where people can report about issues of extortion. But also we are saying there must be this beefing up of police in all areas that have been identified as being high levels of extortion, in particular your Gqeberha, your Buffalo City, and also Kest, which is in Amtata.
In your statement, the ANC mentions the concept of Ubuntu. How does this philosophy then influence the party's approach to community building, but also your views on conflict resolution?
Look, you would recall the ANC, one of its founding principles is the unity of our people. And based on one of the principles of the ANC, of the unity of our people, the principle of Ubuntu always work hand in glove with the ANC. Hence, for any challenges that are faced by society, the African National Congress must be seen as providing leadership, because we are called leaders of society. Hence, for any challenge that is faced by our communities, whether it's tax violence, whether it's anything, the first people that get approached is the African National Congress, because the ANC, because there's always been seen as a leader of society, it provides guidance for any problems that are emanating in society. Hence, we are being viewed as people who must provide that guidance, but also because of the ability that we have and the capacity that we have as the ANC, we provide solutions to our communities. Hence, we must always be encouraged to have that Ubuntu within our communities. Hence, we were even saying that some of the programs that the ANC will have will work with the House of Traditional Leaders, including the traditional leadership in issues. For instance, there's been an issue of people are being raped in areas like Obichi and Amtata. And we were the first ones to call to the police to say, beef up the police of Bichi, because there's a police station in Bichi. But we were also saying that we are going to work with those traditional leaders in Amkata area, and we have worked with them. And they have been arrested. And the Minister of Community Safety in the province even employed some volunteers, security volunteers in that area that are using bikes, that have got walkie-talkies to fight crime in that part, because it's a rural area, but it's very volatile rural area. So in that collaboration, we are also working with traditional leadership, because at the end of the day, that Ubuntu must be espoused by everyone, including those who are in leadership positions of the ANC.